emergency. Get off the train.
That man's trying to kill you.
What?
Who are you? What is going on? I can see the future.
Oh, what the hell?
She didn't see that coming?
That's not how it works.
That's not how any of this works, Dakota. This week on Talking About the Movies, we're taking a look at the latest Sony film that's trying to create a Spider-Man universe without Spider-Man. You know there's a lot of Spider-Man references in this movie. Let's talk about Madam Web. Plus,
Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom is all I ever have.
Bob Marley's life story gets told in a brand new biopic in Bob Marley One Love. Will it be good? Well, it's PG-13, so will we get a good biopic like Ray or Walk the Line, or will we get another Bohemian Rhapsody? You're going to have to watch and find out for yourself. Plus,
I learned the hard way. Not all love stories have a happy ending.
Time's up. Let's pick this back up next week.
Jennifer Lopez has a brand new album out, and so there's a new movie out. Would you believe it has a lot of comparisons to, of all things, Michael Jackson's Moonwalker? It's that bonkers, it's that crazy. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about This Is Me Now, a love story. A triple feature this week on Talking About the Movies. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's a rare triple feature week this week on Talking About the Movies, where we talk about the biggest new releases of the weekend. And we have 3 big new movies that came out this week. 2 of them you can see in a theater, and 1 you can watch at home on Amazon. We'll take a look at all those. We got a lot to get to here, so let's not waste any more time. Let's just jump on into it. We'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, the one that had the most hype behind it, and that is, of course, Madam Web. So Madam Web is the story of a paramedic in Manhattan, Cassandra Webb, played by Dakota Johnson, who develops the powers to see the future, and realizes she can use that insight to change it. Forced to confront revelations about her past, she forges a relationship with 3 young women bound for powerful destinies if they can all survive a deadly present. Now, this is the latest installment of Sony trying to create their own cinematic universe without bringing Spider-Man into anything into. And I mean, Venom. We've had the 2 Venom movies. We've had Morbius, and now we have this movie. But the Venom movies are at least tolerable, and at least are trying to tell a story. Morbius is one of those so bad it's good type of movies where you watch it and it's just like, what the hell was anybody thinking when they made this movie? But you can at least see why it had amiable status to it. But this is the bottom of the barrel right here. I did not think anything could come close to being as bad as Morbius is, but Morbius was at least trying to be entertaining. This movie is not. This is right up there with Argyle for the worst movie of the year. It's that bad. And it's really, really bad. Like, remember back in the day when studios thought that, hey, we want more superhero movies, we want more Batman, we want more Superman, we want more Spider, we want more Daredevil, we want more, we want more of these properties that have already been successful to us. And so they decided to make spin-offs. So they made Supergirl and Catwoman and Elektra. How well do you think those turned out? But at least back then, they were every once in a while. We weren't getting these every couple of years. This is now the 6th year we've been getting one of these movies that was trying to create its own cinematic universe. And we're not even done yet. There's still one more after this with Kraven the Hunter, which looks bad too. But this right here, this is a mess on so many different levels. This is one of those movies that has nothing about it that makes it worth it in the end. It wastes too many good actors in here. Like Dakota Johnson, I told Sydney Sweeney this, I told Ariana DeBose this in previous reviews. You gotta fire your agent, man. You've got to find somebody that can actually get you better scripts, because you deserve way better than this. You started your career off so strongly with that show, Ben and Kate, that unfortunately only lasted 1 year, and ever since 50 Shades of Grey, nobody's using your talents to any good level at all. It's just like nobody's even trying anymore with you. Like you're just picking stuff that you think's going to make you a quick buck and make you a big success, and it's not worth it. It's not worth it. And this movie right here, they changed the movie around her to the point where she had no idea what movie this wasn't the movie that she originally signed up for. And when you watch this movie, you feel like this movie just goes all over the place and has nothing of value to it whatsoever. There's nothing about this movie that makes any sense whatsoever. Like, this is a film that has no idea what time period it's supposed to be set in. Like, it's supposed to be set in 2003, but people are using technology that doesn't come until years later. Like, what the hell were they thinking when they made this movie? It's just like, nothing about this makes any sense whatsoever. There's no... And you know, and we should have known that this was going to be bad from the get-go because you have two writers on here. I want you to listen to their names carefully. Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless. I want you to know those names because you're going to see why we should have known that this was going to be bad from the get-go. Here are some of the movies that they have written before this movie. Dracula Untold, The Last Witch Hunter, Gods of Egypt, Morbius. We should have known right from the get-go this was going to be bad. The best thing they wrote was Power Rangers, and even then, they only wrote the story for it. They didn't write the entire script, because God knows what that Power Rangers movie would have been like if that actually had happened. But, how are these guys still getting work? What pictures do they have with these studios? Like, hey, we want to make this movie, and you're going to give it to us, or we're going to take these pictures out and show it to the world, which, like... It baffles me that these guys still get work. This director, S.J. Clarkson, is a director who has been mostly known for her work in television. She's done a lot of TV work. You know, she's done a lot of shows for House, Dexter, Heroes, Ugly Betty. She directed a lot of episodes of Succession. You know, she directed episodes of Jessica Jones, Orange is the New Black. She's not a bad director, and this is her first chance at getting a movie to direct on her own. And this was the best you could give her. And she also co-wrote the script too. Like, you had a hand in this. Like, are you trying to never work in Hollywood again? Seriously? And the movie just goes into ridiculous territory when it tries to do something so. Here's the thing with these movies. They're supposed to be taking place outside of the realm of Spider-Man. That was the point with Venom in the beginning. It was supposed to take place outside of Spider-Man. It wasn't supposed to have anything to do with that. But then Into the Spider-Verse became the big success, and then everybody had to do the multiverse thing. So, of course, we now have to bring Spider-Man into it. They had that teaser at the end of Venom 2 where you thought Venom was going to meet up with Peter Parker. That never happened. He was in No Way Home, but that never happened. Morbius tried to create their own universe by having Michael Keaton in there, reprising his MCU role, which completely screwed that over. And in this movie, it gets so despicable. They're trying to create so many memeable moments. This is what happens when you try to create memes and they don't work whatsoever. The line reading in this movie, they take classic lines and give them this look that they think they're so damn important that it's going to be the next great meme. It's going to be the next Morbid time, which it's not. Nothing about this movie is going to have any memeable powers except how terrible you can make a superhero movie. And the fact that this is Tom Rothman again. Tom Rothman was the guy that said, yes, I want to do an Elektra movie. Yes, I want to do a Wolverine movie because I hate the X-Men and I like Wolverine. This is the guy that's running Sony right now. It's his fault we're getting movies like this. And greenlighting them. It's just like, it's baffling. It is baffling on so many levels. The cast of this movie is wasted. They're too good to be in the movie like this. And, yeah. The ways they crib Spider-Man in here. Like Adam Scott plays Uncle Ben. And Emma Roberts plays his wife, and she gives birth to a baby named Peter. Like, everything about this movie is just so despicable. It's so unnerving. It's just a mess on so many levels. Nothing about this movie is good. It takes itself way too seriously. At least Morbius had a sense of humor to it, even though it wasn't hiding it well. They had a sense of humor to some of the ridiculousness they had there. But this is taking itself way too seriously. Like, really, way too seriously. And it hurts big time. It's painful to watch this movie. It's a mess on so many levels. It's a terribly written movie. It's a film that has nothing of value to it whatsoever. The visuals are terrible. The camera work is awful. The music, they literally steal from the Spider-Man video games. the PlayStation video games. They stole this. They stole that for this Madam Web theme. I'm dead serious. That's how bad this movie is. It's a terrible movie. It's an awful, awful movie on so many levels. But is it as bad as... But is it something that's really going to top Argyle as the worst movie of the year? Because I say no right now because... Let me explain. Argyle was a movie that was clearly trying to tell a story. It wasn't a good story. It was trying to have a hook to it. But there was just way too much going on in terms of like all the twists and turns and all that. It's a failure on a spectacular level. This is just a dull, bad movie. For Sony, who was so keen on starting their own universe without the MCU involved, and this has been the best they could do with 4 movies. That's bad. That's really, really bad. Like, this may not be the worst of the year, but it is easily the second worst movie I've seen this year. We're only 6 weeks into 2024. Is half my list of the worst movies of the year is more than full so far. Like, that's how bad this year has been so far. So, yeah, you can probably tell what I'm going to give this. So, yeah, big thumbs down. Avoid this movie like the plague. It's terrible. It's awful. It's a disaster. It's a disaster on so many levels. And we got one more of these, so, who knows? Maybe they can turn it around with Kraven the Hunter. I sincerely doubt it, but yeah. So let's try to brighten the mood up a little bit here. Let's take a look at our next film, which is Bob Marley, One Love. So Bob Marley, One Love is based on the life of the reggae singer Bob Marley, played here by Kingsley Ben-Adir, who was last seen in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 as the bad guy in that movie. In addition to him, you also have Lashana Lynch from No Time to Die and Captain Marvel as Rita Morley, and also James Norton as Chris Blackwell. It follows his rise to fame in the 1970s up to his death in 1981. And I actually was really looking forward to this movie for a number of years. When I heard about this movie, I thought, okay, this will be pretty cool to see. They got a good director behind it, Reynaldo Marcus Green, who gave us King Richard, which had a great performance by Will Smith in it, and a good script by Terrence Winter, who did Boardwalk Empire, wrote a lot of Sopranos, Zach Balan, who wrote the script for Creed 3. I thought we were going to have something good here. I thought it was something that was going to be something really cool to see. And then 1 week before the movie comes out, it gets a PG-13 rating, and you know what that means with a musical biopic. It means that they're not going to tell the story that we want to see. They're going to tell the story that's going to be a story that basically gives you the story of how he rose to fame, had his downfall, and then suddenly rose up again before he passes away. But not only that, it's going to be safe and marketable, so we can bring the families in here, and they bring the kiddies in here, and it's going to be so sanitized that we can't go into the deeper stuff of what happened with Bob Marley, because the Marley family is involved here. And heaven forbid if we actually had to tell you the dark secrets of what Bob Marley did back then. And that right there was the one thing that was getting me very, very worried going into this movie, because we saw what happened with Whitney Houston with I Want to Dance with Somebody, and we especially saw what happened with Bohemian Rhapsody when they tried to do that. Now, that's not to say that PG-13 musical biopics can be bad. I mean, one of the best ones, Ray with Jamie Foxx, great movie, great movie about Ray Charles' life. Jersey Boys was a good movie. Walk the Line was a good movie. There's been a lot of good movies that have been PG-13 that have done this, but I feel like if you're going to tell the story the way it's supposed to be told, you have to do it something like with Rocket Man. Rocket Man was an R-rated movie, but it had fun telling the story of Elton John's life, while having its own spin to it. It made it so unique and so different. And I feel like a lot of biopics should be taken from that movie, but because it wasn't the massive hit that everyone thought that Bohemian Rhapsody was, we've got to go down the Bohemian Rhapsody route. And that was my fear going into this movie for sure. I thought to myself, I mean, this is probably not going to work. I didn't think it was going to be bad in any way, shape, or form, but I just thought to myself, I just thought it was not going to work. And sure enough, as I got out of there, unfortunately, my biggest fears came to light, because the movie, it's your typical biopic. It's a movie where you follow the rise and fall of this guy, and then Bob Marley, and then he comes back and when it matters the most. And it's a safe and marketable storyline because we can't go into the deeper elements to it because, again, the Marley family's producing this, and I'll be damned if they're going to let you get the true story about what happened in Bob Marley's life out there. And to me, that's really where the movie suffers big time because it's too safe. And a story like this, you have to be able to go all in. You have to be able to do an R-rated storyline that's not afraid to show you the cold, hard truth about who Bob Marley was as a person. You can't just pretend like he has the happy-go-lucky life, all that type of stuff. But it's just like I expected so much better from this movie, mostly because I got sick and tired. I'm getting sick and tired of the same old musical biopic that's literally the same thing every single time. Every single time, it's literally the same thing. We're going to tell the story of this person, but we're not going to go deep into the whole story about it because, heaven forbid, you people out there can't handle the cold, hard truth about who a specific person really was in real life. That's what I'm worried about with the Michael Jackson biopic that they're doing, because they're doing one with Antoine Fuqua directing it, and yeah, the kid looks like Michael Jackson. It's his nephew. Of course he's going to look like that, but it's going to be written by the same guy that wrote Bohemian Rhapsody, because heaven forbid, why give you the whole cold hard truth about Michael Jackson? We could just do a whole movie where he was great. He wasn't all the bad person everyone made him out to be, even though technically that was true, but there's so much more that can be done with this story of Michael Jackson. And it should be something that should be done with more than one movie. That's another one of the biggest problems with this Jackson biopic coming up, is that you got to do that story in more than one movie. If you have to do a 2-parter or a 3-parter film, so be it, because there's so much going on with that character, with that person, Michael Jackson character. I mean, Michael Jackson was a character, but not in the way that I was saying it before. But that's the biggest problem I have with this movie here. It plays it way too safe. You know what's going to happen. You know how it's going to play out. But kind of like with Whitney Houston and Bohemian Rhapsody, the casting overall does evidently sell the movie as a whole. I mean, this guy, Kingsley Ben-Adir, does a very good job playing Bob Marley. I think he does a very good job of handling that role in particular. Before I move on, I should mention that I said that this was the guy that was the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Not that person. He was in a Marvel project. He was the Skullgravix in Secret Invasion, but he's also been in Barbie. He's also been One Night in Miami, where he played Malcolm X. I thought he was very good in that too. But yeah, I said he was the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. He's not, but I thought he was really good in this movie here. I thought he did a very good job playing Bob Marley. You could see that he fit the role so well, and he and Lashana Lynch actually have a lot of good chemistry together. Lashana Lynch, of course, plays Rita Marley, who is his wife. My head's going out right now because going back to Ben-Adir, I thought that was him from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but no, that's not him in that movie. But he's been in a lot of stuff you've seen before. He's in Barbie, he's in Secret Invasion, he's in One Night in Miami. So, but do I have anything else I really want to bring up about this particular film? I guess really the biggest, like I said, the major problem with the movie is that it plays it too safe. It's a movie that plays it way too safe for its own good. It's a film that was clearly made by the family because they didn't want a bad look for this famous person from their family, because who wants to see the true real life story about somebody when you could just have a sanitized version of it? And it just didn't work for me. Like, the acting I thought overall was good enough to maybe save it a little bit, but in the end, I can't really recommend this movie because of the fact that it is that same type of a storyline where, it follows the Bohemian Rhapsody beat by beat. It's just like, while the writing is not as bad as Bohemian Rhapsody is, like, I'm getting sick and tired of having the same old biopic be the same thing every single time. And for me personally, that's just what I unfortunately can't recommend the movie, despite the good cast involved for it. So again, just a marginal I give it a thumbs down, but this one's a marginal thumbs down. Though I think that you could find some value into it just by the performances alone. But if you're going in there looking for a story that actually is done completely different from some of the other biopics we've gotten over the last couple of years, prepare to be very disappointed, because I knew as soon as that PG-13 rating came up for this, I knew we were in trouble. So with that said, that's Bob Marley, One Love. Let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, which is the Amazon Prime exclusive movie, Jennifer Lopez, This Is Me Now, or as Gene likes to say it,
This is me now! This is me now! This is me now! This is me now!
I'm sorry, but whenever I see the line, This Is Me Now, that's all I can think of for the line from Bob's Burgers. But This Is Me Now coincides with the release of Jennifer Lopez's newest album with the same name. It's a narrative-driven odyssey telling the story of Jennifer Lopez's journey to love through her own eyes. And it is a very interesting cast in this movie, because you have a cast that also includes Fat Joe, Kim Petras, Post Malone, Sofia Vergara, Jennifer Lewis, Jay Shetty, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Sadhguru, Derek Howe, Trevor Noah, Ben Affleck. I mean, it's a visual album movie. It's very much similar to, the Beyonce movie that came out on Disney Plus a couple years ago, Black is King, which, when they announced this movie, I thought it was because they were doing something similar to what Taylor Swift and Beyonce had done with the movies they put out in theaters last fall. But no, this is a very, very different movie, and it's a bizarre movie. It's a film that is so all over the place and has no idea what the hell they're trying to do with it. And it's insane, it's nuts, it's bonkers, but at the same time, I kind of have to admire it. I mean, it's one of those movies where it's a movie that I look at it's a movie I look at and I think to myself, someone else likes Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, because clearly Jennifer Lopez got the inspiration to do this by watching something like Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. She probably looked at it and said, "Oh shit, I could do something as crazy as this. Let me see what I can work with here." But not only that, of course, you have a lot of comparisons to Beyonce's Lemonade and Beyonce's movies that she made as of late. But and yeah, it's a very weird movie on a number of different levels, but at the same time, there is kind of a fun factor to it. There is a lot of ambition and effort being put into this movie. It's very insane, it's very ridiculous, and I think the movie just completely accepts it. I mean, this is a music video director, Dave Meyers, and for Jennifer Lopez to go all out on this, more power to her, man, because I really thought, like, this is the most fun I've seen her in a long, long time. This is a movie where I feel like, you know, this really shows what Jennifer Lopez can really do as an actress in here. Because I thought she did a pretty good job acting-wise in here. I thought the cinematography was actually pretty good here. The production work was overall pretty solid in general here. It's mercifully short, too. It's only an hour long. Like, it's an hour and 5 minutes long. So it's not a long movie whatsoever. But, it's weird. This movie has more ambition and more promise to it, and more people going behind the scenes saying, "Hey, let's go for it. Let's do what we can to make this an entertaining experience," than something like Madam Web did. Compare this to Madam Web. This is a movie that clearly had more effort put into it. Madam Web had none of that effort put into it whatsoever, and it hurt that film big time in the end. But now is it a film that's basically a promotional thing for her new album? No question, yeah. I mean, nobody can really see that. You'd be crazy not to see that, but that's kind of the fun of it. That's what I think this movie knew exactly what it was trying to do. It knew exactly what it was trying to accomplish. It knew exactly what it was trying to do, and it said, "Hey, we're going to be as chaotic as we want to," because nobody's really going into this with a lot of high ambitions or expectations to it. But at the same time, they know we're going to have fun with it, because they know that they're putting all this effort into it, and they know they're having a good time with it. And that's really the best thing about this movie. It's fun. They know they're having a good time with it, making the film, knowing how ridiculous and over the top it's going to be. And I give a lot of credit for that. I was really surprised going into it, because I was not expecting a whole lot from it whatsoever. But it worked. It worked for me. It's probably the most fun movie I've seen so far this year. And you know, there's been a lot of great movies this year. We've had Orion in the Dark, we've had Lisa Frankenstein, but this right here may be the most fun movie I've seen so far this year. And for that, I gotta give the movie its proper credit, man. I give it a good thumbs up. If you go into it knowing that it's going to be as chaotic and as ridiculous and as over the top and as silly as something like a Michael Jackson's Moonwalker is, I mean, you could go in there having a good time with it. I know I certainly did. It was one of those ones where just kind of like, this one really came out of nowhere, and for that I'm kind of glad I went in there not knowing too much about it, but it's fun. It's a fun movie. I do recommend checking it out. It's probably the best thing you can see anywhere this weekend, and that's really no small task for this movie. So yeah, that's my thoughts on This Is Me Now, a Love Story. So that's gonna wrap this up. This episode of talking about the movies up. Next week we do have one new movie that I want to check out. It's the new movie from Ethan Coen, and that is Drive Away Dolls. So we'll probably have a review for that coming up next week, and then after that, we should be starting to get some of the good stuff again. Dune Part 2 comes out in a couple weeks. Ghostbusters, Kung Fu Panda 4. So, the doldrums are almost over, folks. If Drive Away Dolls can actually do something of noteworthiness next week, we're on our way to something good going into 2024, I think. But, so with that said, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, check out some of the other videos I've done. Hit the like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. So until then, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.